Hello, Partnering for Vaccine Equity Learning Community members, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar on combating misinformation on social media. I'm Kristen Brown, and on behalf of your group learning team at the Urban Institute, thank you for being with us today. Combating misinformation has been important to all of us as we have sought to educate the public about the importance of getting vaccinated. Today, we will hear about lessons learned from the Good Health Wins program. Before we go further, I'm going to do my typical brief review of the features and requests for this meeting. Please remain on mute unless you're speaking so we can avoid accidental interruptions. I encourage you to introduce yourself using the chat feature and tell us where you're zooming in from. You should also use the chat to send us any questions you have. We have allotted some time near the end of the Q&A, but I encourage you to put your questions in since we may be able to incorporate them earlier. We are offering live interpretation from English to Spanish. If you would like to listen in Spanish, please press the globe icon on your Zoom taskbar. And the slides and recordings of this session will be available after the webinar on our PAVE Learning Community website. Finally, if you have any technical difficulties, we want to know about them, please send us a note to our Group Learning Manager inbox, which is vaxequitylearning@urban.org. I would now like to introduce today's speaker. I am absolutely delighted to introduce Synovia Moss, who is the National Project Manager for Good Health Wins Immunization Networks, aka Good Health Wins, for the National Council of Negro Women Incorporated, with the reach of over 4.5 million people in the African American community. Good Health Win partners with NCNW's 32 national affiliate organizations and the Black Greek letter organizations to increase vaccination coverage across different racial and ethnic adult populations currently experiencing disparities. Synovia recently served as a global strategic advisor for the Brain Matters Early Learning Global Network, launched in 27 countries across 4 continents. She has also served as the president and charter member of the NCNW Milwaukee section and co-chair of NCNW's Health Equity COVID-19 subcommittee. I will now hand it over to you, Ms. Moss. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kristen Brown, and to this dynamic team over at the Urban Institute. I'm Synovia Moss, and I am excited to share with you some of our lessons learned over the last 4 years with Good Health Wins. Good Health Wins stands for Women's Immunization Networks, or that's where we get the Good Health Wins. But today, you are the social media experts, not I. And you're the experts in your organization. And with that, I am giving my disclaimer that there will be a high-tech PowerPoint presentation and a low-tech, I'm going to try to show you some of the videos to help you see some of the work that's been going on within the Good Health Wins Network. Just a little bit about the National Council of Negro Women. We were founded in 1935 by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. We are an organization of organizations. So we now have 33 national women's organizations. We have 300 campus and community-based sections throughout the country. And our mission is to lead, advocate, and empower women of African descent, their families, and communities. So within the council, we have about 2 million women and men who we reach on an ongoing basis. But we were also able to bring in the Divine Nine into this work that we're doing. One of our president emeritus is Dr. Dorothy Height, and she said, if the time is not ripe, we have to ripen the time. And the council came to this work in this space because of COVID. And so we have a grant. We are a grant recipient, as many of you all are in PAVE. So the work that we do with the CDC, but we are also in partnership with Vaccinate Your Family. They serve us in the grant as subject matter experts. And we also have Trust for America's Health, or TIFA, in the grant. Within Good Health Wins, we provide mini grants to our 40 national organizations, as well as their chapters throughout the country. So we do about 1,500 mini grants in all of our groups and organizations. And they have, we call this a +1 grant. They have partners that they have in the community. So it's around 6,000 partners that are participating. But it doesn't matter, because we know that social media misinformation impacts all of us. So we've been able to take this very large network and get it organized so that we could not just do programs and events to address COVID, flu, and routine vaccines, but we've really been working on positioning the importance of immunizations across the lifespan. With our combined effort, we have about 4.5 million in our reach. And so you know that it's been very important to get everybody on board with the 4 pillars of we call within Good Health Wins that I'll share with you. Our 4 pillars: we activate, we educate, we motivate, we celebrate. What does that have to do with misinformation? Because all of these organizations have comms teams. So within our 33 national organizations, we've hosted a lot on social media and the way that we use Zoom, et cetera. We host what we call our community of practice since the beginning of COVID. Every first and third Thursday, we have information sessions where we educate around what's going on with COVID, flu, routine vaccines, but also how do we build community as we've created this army of immunization champions. We're averaging around 1,000 people on our calls still, so we're very excited, and we just hosted Community of Practice 65 last Thursday at our National CBO Summit. We also try to motivate with all of this information. So we created a Trusted Messenger certificate program. We have 5 modules, 900 people participated in the 5 weeks, 500 completed all 5 modules, but we have 1 module that was dedicated purely to how to handle misinformation. We are going to launch our certificate program again in 2024. Happy to share that information out and have you all join. And so we celebrate on our community of practice. We have what we call Best of Show. So our subrecipients are able to submit wonderful work that's happening on the ground. And we were able to showcase that in our community of practice, as well as our National CBO Summit that we just did on vaccine access and equity last Thursday at the Gaylord. So as we talk about social media, you know, so often we think about Facebook, Twitter, Meta, TikTok, all of these other things. But I just really wanted to remind you that social media begins with the people. And so it's only as effective as you can get and engage people to how they're going to respond, what they need to know, what they're going to say. And so we have a very extensive infrastructure at Good Health Wins. So in addition, this photo that you see, this is our delegation that went to the National Conference of Immunization Coalition Partners, NCICP. Our social media team are all of our project managers. So that's who you see. You see the national presidents on the front, then you see all the project managers. Each of our 40 organizations has a national project manager, but we also have built out a comms team. So I'm going to start by asking you, as the social media experts, I want you to put it in the chat, who's on your social media team? It's really important that you know that social media includes everybody. I keep saying this over and over and over again. Everybody is comms, so everybody is a social media expert. You might have different levels of how you engage on social media, but social media can be me having a conversation with my neighbor. Social media can be me interfacing on TikTok or Facebook, but it's not just the technology by itself. So remember that the people make up the social part of social media. So within NCNW or Good Health Wins, if you look on the areas on the far right, you will see all the different color boxes. So imagine that that's a different chapter or a different section of an organization. So one organization may have 900 chapters. Each of those 900 chapters flow into what each organization has: a leadership team comprised of a comms person, a data person, a publicity person, and a finance person. And then they have a project manager or a state leader. So you can see that it's infrastructure that really supports how extensive your social media strategy can be. So the second question I want to ask you is, how do you develop your social media plans? So each of our groups has to submit to us a comms plan. Included in the comms plan will be, how are you going to use and develop PSAs? What are your resources are going to be? Will your resources just deal with the individual person, or will we, using the PAVE ecological model, is it going to reach out into community? Will you look at your local community, or are you going to have statewide impact? So we're asking our groups to look at all of these different stratas of the ecosystem and to figure out what their game plan is going to be. Because what we don't want to do is just be reactive to things happening in this vaccine ecosystem, but really starting to think about how we can be proactive as well. And so we looked at this ecological ecosystem of misinformation. You can get it as individuals, you can get it from someone telling you misinformation, or it can be in an organization or at the community level, or even, as you know, the anti-vax movement is strong, you might even get national interplay around misinformation. So misinformation can come from all different sources, which means you have to have strategies to address all different levels of the misinformation. So at the individual level, what we've asked our people to do is to implement. So we activate, we educate, but then we also motivate and encourage them to use social media as individuals. So whether it is showing that you've had shots up in both arms, or if you're a national president, creating Lavinia Harrison, this yellow one that you see, she was a national president who every Wednesday took a flu message and sent that out to her membership. So she was able to use her platform to be able to share her work on social media. And so then also identifying those areas where you have high profile opportunities. So all we say to our groups is that when you have programs and events, give it legs, which is what social media does to help counteract that. So pictures paint 1,000 words. So we really encourage lots of pictures, lots of movement on social media, but getting everybody on the comms team. We also have a Good Health Wins calendar in which we're able to manage all of this social media to show what's going on around the country at any given time. So our social media, we do the hashtags, we do the calendar, but we found that this calendar is a landing place and a starting place for good hashtags, connections, etc., to move. I always say this is a immunization army. It is a movement, but the movement must move. So you want to start seeing where are those locations where your social media has a landing place. And so you'll see there's lots of organizational advocacy. Anything that they're doing, we ask them to, let's say you're having a program, FaceTime your event. Let's say you are creating these hashtags, and I'm going to show you some examples of the way that we've been able to use some of the work that we're doing on social media. So NCNW, we launched a campaign called Get the Facts, Boost the Truth very early on during the pandemic. But what was exciting about this campaign, that in addition to social media, you will see on the far left, look at those fans. They took some of the messaging, they put the hashtag on the fans. Those fans started showing up all over the country. We moved about 50,000 fans a month. You will see that we have Get the Facts, Boost the Truth, that they were in addition to social media, but they would table events and they would show the events that are occurring. We would also do workshops this is a workshop that we did, Get the Facts, Boost the Truth, about vaccines and voting. So you will see that there's all kinds of ways to generate, how do we keep moving misinformation so that we can combat it. So a couple of things, and these are all things that you know, so just some general reminders that you want to use reliable sources. So whenever we do our training, we focus on CDC, Vaccinate Your Family, Good Health Wins, but also we are directing our folks to understand how to utilize their state and local health departments so that anything that they're doing, they're able to cite their sources and they're able to share where to redirect people to. Another reminder that everyone is comms. Everybody in the organization. The president has to use their platform. The board should use their platform. Every leader in your organization should use their platform. And you want to be able to collaborate with other organizations and groups, celebrities and influencers to leverage trust, because that's what we do as CBOs. We've been able to really change the narrative and really recenter a lot of the immunization ecosystem to be centered in community in order to help us to get uptake and combat some of this misinformation. It has been, just imperative that you have a comms plan, that you're able to create and plan intentional responses to address the misinformation, to debunk the myths, and to actually give facts about vaccines. So what that plan does, it really helps you to kind of lay out what our strategy is going to be, how we're going to handle it, et cetera. I'll give you a quick story. What does Synovia and Nicki Minaj have in common? It's not music and I can't sing. Well, I can tell you this. My voice and her platform had no intersection. I got a call. Remember, Nicki Minaj had that whole misinformation about the vaccines. And then I get this call. Oh, Synovia, what are you going to say about, how would you address what Nicki Minaj said on her Instagram or whatever? And I was prepared that I said, you know what, regardless of what she shared, I hope that she has this, I will give her the space and the grace and share with her, here's where you go get credible information. So one of the things you got to know on social media is what not to do as well. So that is not the person you want to engage with her multiple millions of fans. So but because we had a strategy on how we're going to handle misinformation, I was prepared when the question came. Then we have lots of educational campaigns. So you want to launch a social media campaign on giving the facts about vaccinations, how vaccines work, and how to prevent the spread of disease. Those are the key kind of components in an educational campaign whenever we put something out. But we really want to make sure that we're very intentional about what is content. Here's an example. If we create an educational campaign, we will use or write a script. We will share that script with Vaccinate Your Family, and they help vet it for us. So you want to make sure that even what we're sending out, that we make sure that we're not giving misinformation as well. And how quickly the messaging changed during COVID. So it's very important that you kind of have your vetting process in place too. And then user-generated content. The best kind of social media is the kind that the people themselves make. So the examples of celebrities, Get the Facts, Boost the Truth. We had a national college TikTok challenge. All of that really high-tech stuff that Mrs. Moss didn't really know all of that stuff. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about Clubhouse or whatever, because every time you turn around, it's something different. But you really want to make sure that the content itself is generated from the field. So if it comes from the bottom up, it gives it a little bit more credibility. And, the people that we're trying to reach, who we want to increase vaccine demand with, it's been really a better connection for them. So I thought I'm going to give you a couple examples. Some celebrities. I'm going to show you some of the TikTok stuff that was developed. I'll show you a piece of our educational campaign, the local chapters with Vaccination Family, and then just some neat things that we've seen across the network around our national QR code. So while I am queuing this up, because remember, I told you there's a high-tech part of this and there's a low-tech part. Okay, this is a low-tech part, okay? So I am going to escape this. Okay, you guys bear with me, because I had to put this all in one place so that I could not lose you all today. Hope you all are gleaning just a little bit something, and please get ready to put your Q&A into the chat and we will begin. Are you able to see my screen yet? Hold on one second. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, let me do shared screen. There you go. All right. So I'm going to show you guys some videos. So the first one I'm going to show you, when I talk about leadership, I'm going to show you some videos that were developed by one organization, Phi Beta Sigma. And this is the first video I'm going to show is their entire national board participated in a promo video for them. All right. We're making progress, you guys. Here we go.
We have a responsibility
to be our brother's keeper, a responsibility to uphold our fraternity's motto, culture for service and service for humanity.
We have a responsibility to lead by example. Let's bond together to stop the spread of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. The men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated believe in the importance of following these simple steps to combat the spread of COVID-19.
Mask up, practice social distancing,
wash your hands,
use hand sanitizer,
and get vaccinated.
Together, we can do our part to save lives. Learn more at combatcovid19.pbsimpact.org.
The reason why that video was important is because they were able to get their entire leadership. So imagine this is going to move from one leadership. So you probably get 4 years of leadership supporting the importance of immunizations. And so what they did, they disseminated that through their membership, but also on all of their social media platforms. So then they went back and then they started asking, who are the important leaders within their organization? And so then they went out and started getting their celebrity members to participate as well.
Sean Stockman from Boys to Men. And the COVID-19 virus is taking its toll on some of our country's poorest and most vulnerable people. All too often, these people are our Black and brown brothers and sisters in underserved communities. As trusted messengers and advocates for vaccine equity, the men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated support local clinics, hospitals, and pharmacies in their efforts to equitably distribute the COVID-19 vaccine. Learn more at combatcovid19.pbsimpact.org.
All right. Can you imagine the platform that he has? I mean, I doubt if any of us have that kind of leverage on social media, but then they kept getting all of their celebrities. Look at this.
We have a responsibility to be our brother's keeper, a responsibility to uphold our fraternity's motto, culture for service and service for humanity. We have a responsibility to lead by example. So let's bond together to stop the spread of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. The men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated believe in the importance of following these simple steps to combat the spread of COVID-19. Mask up, practice social distancing, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, and get vaccinated. Together, we can do our part to save lives. Learn more at combatcovid19.pbsimpact.org.
So one of the things that we're able to show through this particular organization, look how deep they were able to go in utilizing their membership. They also had just regular high-profile people internal to their group.
Hey, brothers, this is John Hope Bryant, founder of Operation Hope, entrepreneur, and a passionate lover of people. So, it's so hard for me not to hug everybody. Well, today, one of the most loving things you can do for people you love is to keep a little distance. If you love them, if you respect them, if you admire them, if you want them to live a long life, tell them to keep a little distance. And you keep a little distance too. Model what you want people to see. Get the vaccine. We've been taking vaccines our whole life. I've been taking the vaccine since I was born. We had no issue with vaccines until now. So be loving, get vaccinated. And like me, get the booster shot too. And keep your distance. Stay blessed and distanced.
So as you're watching some of these videos, I'm curious to know what your reaction and how do you think how well this stuff resonated on these videos, resonated on social media. That was one organization. One of the things we were able to do was to get all of the Divine Nine presidents, again, 2.5 million. Each of the presidents did 3 PSAs total. And it was just, the way that they were able to move things was in the millions. Now we had another organization that did a national collegiate TikTok challenge. And so here's some of the TikTok featuring
Misty. Immunizations are the best way to protect yourself and others around you from contracting viruses such as COVID-19 and the flu. The UCF Health Center administers free vaccines for both COVID-19 and the flu. And if you feel like you've contracted it, you can always come and get a take-home test or come and get free testing here in the health center. Next is Sora Culver with physical health.
College can be very stressful, even in this stage of the pandemic. So it's very important that we practice our self-care. The UCF RWC offers group classes such as cycling and yoga and even personal training. These are ways to stay physically fit. Now passing Misty to Sora Kareem. Welcome to UCF's Counseling and Psychological Services, also known as CAPS. Here at UCF, CAPS provides a wide range of services to students and the campus community. Some of these services include 10 free individual sessions, group therapy, relationship therapy, crisis services, and self-improvement workshops. Remember, it's very important to take care of your mental health and well-being. It's the help for me.
All right. So what this organization did, Delta Sigma Theta, they put out a national collegiate TikTok challenge to their 700 chapters. And then they were awarded based off of, they had a selection committee, but guidelines, they had to go utilize the CDC's.
Pandemic has been challenging. Through struggles with grief and isolation, college students have continued to use their creativity to make the most out of these unprecedented circumstances.
Here is how we can continue to protect ourselves and others as we live and thrive through this pandemic.
Avoid close contact with people when you're sick, and always maintain at least 6 feet of distance between your colleagues and friends.
Always wash your hands for at least 20 seconds or use alcohol-based sanitizer, preferably both.
If you need to sneeze or cough, please do it inside of a tissue or inside your elbow, not on your hands.
And if you feel sick, stay at home and remain at home until you feel better.
Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth after being in public areas.
Practicing healthy habits such as routinely cleaning your space,
Cleaning frequently touched objects.
Getting sleep and being physically active.
managing stress, drinking fluids, and eating nutritious foods all decrease your chances of being sick.
The Epsilon Psi chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated cares deeply about the mental and physical health of our community. Do your part in protecting the well-being of yourself and others. Thank you.
So the award winners for the organizations were featured on their national website. In one day, it went out over to 200,000 chapter members. So they were very excited and got high visibility. And this is their number 3 winner with their TikTok challenge. And they're going to do this again.
Selfish, stress, and optimism. Nicole, that's me and my line sisters. Do the impossible to create a guide to help you survive the pandemic.
Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 and the flu are great ways to stay protected. You can get vaccinated at different pharmacies, your own doctor's office, health departments, and even college campuses, including UMBC. Getting vaccinated not only protects yourself, but protects your loved ones as well. So give it a shot and get vaccinated.
Remember to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. You never know what germs are out there.
Remember, these aren't the only ways you can live well. A healthy body starts with a healthy mind. Practicing self-care is often underestimated, but it's very important. For instance, I journal. That helps me center my mind, release stress, clear my head. You should try it sometime.
And there you have it. That is how Women How to Live Well throughout the pandemic. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget, good health wins.
All right, so you can see that they have a whole nother college strategy that they wrote in their plan. NCNW, we've also had groups that created collegiate ambassador programs that they utilize social media, but who better to talk to that generation than the students themselves? So NCNW, we did a national campaign called Get the Facts, Boost the Truth with Dr. Jackie from Bravo. She's on the show Married to Medicine, but she's also a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and she's just a very high-profile person. And this is the next video that we're going to show with Dr. Jackie.
Hey ladies, it's Dr. Jackie, and I'm here to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine. There is a lot of misinformation out there. I'd like to set the record straight. As a board certified OBGYN, I know this is a myth. There's no proven research that the COVID-19 vaccine impacts reproductive health. In fact, pregnant women get sicker if they contract COVID-19. This is definitely not true. The COVID-19 vaccine does not alter your DNA. When you get vaccinated, messenger RNA teaches your body's immune system how to respond to potential viruses, and that will allow you to feel safe outside. As Black women, we have the power to stop the spread of this virus in our community. Get the facts and boost the truth with the National Council of Negro Women. Visit goodhealthwins.org today and make your own informed decision about the COVID-19 vaccine.
So as you notice that we're starting to use more of the QR and the flow codes. And so here's another example of a flow code that one organization does. I think that if you put your camera up to it, you can actually go into the flow code, but it links directly to the Good Health Wins website, as well as the their organization's work that they're doing for Good Health Wins. I just wanted to be able to show you all a couple of examples, high tech, low tech, but really just reiterating what it looks like when you go through those steps of using community-based individuals. The lower you can get to the ground. The high profile people, they were phenomenal because we were able to use their platforms and get our work onto their social media platforms. So I just really want to thank you all for this opportunity. Just a quick reminder that the way to combat misinformation is to do it one person, one hashtag, one everything at a time. One of the things that we also did with the Good Health Wins Network is that we provided social media training for all of our subrecipients. So we did a beginner's training, we did an advanced training, we have a comms group. So each of our 40 organizations, they have given us a communications liaison, and they meet once a month. So again, it's the infrastructure of the way that we've been able to activate. It is the education, knowing where to get those reliable sources, the CDC. Even in the TikTok challenge, you could tell that they were using the same source information because the scripts were pretty much the same, but their delivery was so different. And I would say that it was amazing to watch the Collegiate TikTok challenge because they probably had close to 22 submissions that came in, that each one by themselves was absolutely cute, amazing, but extremely creative. So then we activate, we educate, we do our modules around misinformation in our certificate program. And all of the people who went through the certificate program actually got certificates for each module. So that in and of itself was a way that we can combat misinformation, is that we build these communities of trust with each other. And then we celebrate. Just remember to put the good stories about the work that we're doing out there as well as we're combating this information. So just some quick tidbits, you guys. Thanks so much for this opportunity, Kristen, team. Definitely would love to take some Q&A if anyone has any questions, but just wanted to just remind us that, as we do this work in Good Health Wins, we always say we're better together because it's all of these kinds of works and examples on the ground that makes all of this work together. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Synovia, for the presentation. We can open up the chat and Q&A for questions if anyone has questions. Also, we're going to drop off our satisfaction poll, so please fill that out. I guess I'll start off with the first question. So one of the important things is people being able to identify what's a reliable source. So how did you teach people to determine what source is reliable when they're bombarded with so much information?
So, and let's say the whole 3 years or 3.5 years we've been doing this work, and we saw that the messaging was changing so much. And, you know, if you look at mass media, there was so much misinformation happening, especially on the internet, that we, as we talked to our folks and we said, look, you are a trusted messenger in your community, in your family, in your organization. And so we want you to know where to get credible information. And so we really directed them to the CDC, to Vaccinate Your Family, to our Good Health Wins website. As we were receiving information, that's why those community of practice sessions were so important, because we were able to kind of keep drilling it into them to say, this is where you go, this is where you go, this is where you go, this is how you counteract it. So I would say that ongoing opportunity to educate was really an advantage for us.
And I'm going to follow up with another question. So you talk about NCNW as being an organization of organizations. So can you talk about how partnering with different types of organizations may have helped than someone being out there just kind of on their own trying to do their vaccine equity work?
So we are in a unique position because we're an 87-year-old organization. So coalition is in our DNA. However, as you start doing the work out in the community, these are groups and organizations that we say to them, embed the immunization messaging onto what you were already going to do. So they were already doing programs with Boys and Girls Club, already doing literacy programs in school, already doing fishing projects with kids. So it didn't matter what slice of the demographic they were looking at, they were already touching community, but it was expanding the partnership. We began to see lots of I would say multilingual, bilingual, and multilingual work, right? So they were already in Black and Brown communities working together. So we were already engaging in working with BIPOC communities. So it was just a matter of, you didn't have to necessarily formalize the partnership as if we were formalizing the importance of this so that all people could get reached. So partnering for us is really broadening the collaborations. And can I also say that it didn't start out like this for us, right? This grew into this big, extensive network. When we were first starting, we were like everybody else. We were trying to figure out, what is this COVID thing? How do we stop this in our communities that were, disproportionately impacted? So we had to roll up our sleeves and learn this stuff the hard way, because as I share with people, we weren't asked to come into the work. COVID brought us into this work, into this space. And so it was challenging, but we quickly saw that the more organized we were with infrastructure, the easier it is to have a plan of how we were going to handle the misinformation.
We have a question from the chat. It is, how do you work on vaccination now with the most vulnerable communities and the underinsured?
So we will be participating in the Bridge Access Program, like all of our, part of our commitment to year 4. One of the things that we see is that we've said to our people, try to reach people where they play, pay, stay, and pray, right? Which means you want to touch people in multiple places. So in the beginning, where it may look like a vaccine clinic or you're responding to mobile vaccines and all of that, now we want them to focus more on, let's concentrate on the individual conversations that you may be having, because, there's a lot of vaccine fatigue, right? But you really, really want to stay consistent. And I always share my personal story that as much as I am doing all of this work, my brother will not get vaccinated. You know why? Because he said to his big sister, I heard that Farrakhan said, and I said, Farrakhan? How did Farrakhan get to you before I did? Right? And so every day for the last 3 years, every conversation, and I talk to my brother daily, I say, hello, is this my unvaccinated brother? Yes, he says yes. But my point is that I still keep engaging him in the conversation. So we, as ambassadors and champions for this work, we can't get fatigued. So it's just, in my head, I keep saying to myself, it might take 1,000 conversations to get to my brother. And I'm starting to wear him down, you all. I'm wearing him down. And one of the things that I really want to share with you all, that how important it is to provide what we call space and grace, in that we can give as much information as we want. We can know all the correct information, but all we can do is share and give people the space and grace to make these informed decisions, because these are still personal decisions around vaccines and boosting and all of that. We really encourage people to use their creativity. So in different demographics, the work looks different. The beauty of what we've been able to do with Good Health Wins and our mini grant program is that we have been able to provide the autonomy that the groups need on the ground to be able to figure out what works best in their community. So in Northern California, it might be they've created Queenie Gets Her Shot. It's a coloring book that they have given thousands of coloring books out. But it opens up the conversation. They have created, one group had a baby doll collection program where they disseminated Black baby dolls, and they wanted to give out little dolls that looked like the little girls that they were serving. They gave out the dolls, and they also gave them the childhood immunization schedule. So it's different ways. So you want to see that creativity on the ground. We have one group that they work in literacy with schools, and they have given out 100,000 bookmarks that really talk about the importance of vaccinations, something for the teachers, something for the parent. So you want to encourage the creativity to reach the people where they are.
I love the idea of a coloring book.
Oh, Queenie is all over the place. She's been in about 15 states now. You know, she's like our Where's Waldo, but she's showing up everywhere because it is, you know, that's the beauty of the grassroots work that we do. So Queenie has a coloring book. Queenie has been interviewed by blackdoctors.org. Queenie has her own marketing strategy that's going on. So again, it is thinking about that one group decided that coloring book was going to be their way of addressing misinformation. You know, even starting with children, you know, you're going to be afraid. Yes, the shot may hurt for a little bit, but you know, it's really good for you. I think Queenie's had like 3 iterations. Now Queenie has a big brother who has taught her about don't be afraid to get the shot, or how to deal with peer pressure of getting vaccinated. It's just really interesting to see how this work is beginning to bubble up from the bottom up. So misinformation can occur across all of those strata: individual, community, local, national. So you want to have a strategy for all of that.
And you talked about like the baby doll and being able to have baby dolls that look like them. Can you talk about the importance of having trusted messengers that you can relate to, and how that may even have been able to push the message with NCNW?
Right. So, you know, I would say, you know, Kristen, I'm preaching to the choir. This group knows that the best way to address trust in communities of color is to utilize the trusted messengers themselves. So the goal is, how do you educate and inform and arm the trusted messengers with great information to do that? I really believe that part of the success of what we've been able to do is that this is what these groups were doing pre-COVID, right? These are groups and organizations that are community-based focused and community-centered. So it was very easy to talk to the groups about our responsibility to share this information, because there was so much death going on, you know, death and sickness. So it was an easy sell to say, look, we have a responsibility to help get us back to a better health, you know, healthier communities.
So I have a question on the other side of that. So you're saying that the community organizations were trusted because they were already there before COVID.
Yep.
How do we maintain sustainability even as COVID becomes less in public discourse?
Okay. So one of the things that we are working with our groups and organizations to do is to include immunizations on their health platforms. Almost all of these groups and organizations were already either doing something in health and education, and each group has their own focus. On their health platforms, they might be handling or addressing diabetes, hypertension, breast cancer, et cetera. And so we always try to show them where immunizations intersect with their health platforms. And so the sustainability piece would be how let's say once a funding is over, how do they continue the work? And so we are working on putting strategies in place to continue the funding in other sources, in other ways. And so one of the things that I think is a great opportunity with social media is to also tell your success stories. So our groups are currently creating impact reports, impact plans. We will publish a national action plan. So the goal is you have to shift from misinformation to still being the comms and being the PR team. So we want to make sure that we're able to share the wealth of all the good work that everybody's been doing and celebrating it. I know that, for groups or organizations, I invite you all to join us on our community of practice or reach out and let us know the other work that you're doing, because we're happy to lift up what you're doing on our community of practice, because we want you all to join us as well. We recently, this past weekend, just hosted a national CBO summit on vaccine access and equity. We had it in the DC area. All 200 groups participated. And so I would hope that you all know that you're invited to join us, because we're going to have part 2, December 5th, 2024. So join us if you want to see what we're doing. Reach out if you'd like to have additional conversations around how did you do the work. We can connect you to people who are in your areas or who are in your sector to kind of show you how to continue this collaboration, because we say we're better together. We know that there may be another pandemic. Let's not lose all of this work effort and work product in the process. And that's why technology is so important, and it is a viable way for us to stay connected.
So we have another question from the
Sure.
chat, and it says, is proper hand washing techniques worth highlighting in our message? I see quite often in real life and other means of broadcasting improper hand washing.
Okay. I would say yes, 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 yes. Let me give you an example. So recently, we had a lot of groups who did like trunk and treat, trick or treating, and all of that during Halloween. They actually had hand washing stations where they would show the kids how to do the hand washing, and then the kids could, after they wash their hands, they can go into the grab bag and get as much candy as they wanted. Super successful. Highly. Can you imagine how the kids wanted to learn how to wash their hands properly because they wanted to get more candy? So but our goal is, no matter how simple or nuanced that conversation is, it's important because it's a strategy of good health. So not just during COVID, but during cold and flu season, it was important, that every time they go to the bathroom, wash your hands. So this is really about hygiene and health. Right. So that's what we say good health wins. It's not always just the immunization piece. That was super successful, you all. And we're starting to see that whenever there are children's activities, it's important to include the basic things with the children, social distancing, stay home if you're not feeling well, things like that, because they can really influence their parents a lot. All right.
Well, if there's not any more questions, we can move on to our satisfaction poll, and I can let you know about upcoming events. So we have our last event of the year for PAVE will be this Thursday. It's the Celebrate PAVE event. We're just going to be highlighting all of the great work that we've done over the past year. So we'll also be doing a trivia contest, so you might want to sign up for that, and to shout out all of the paid partners that have really gone above and beyond to support the learning community over the years. So Luis just dropped the registration link, if you haven't registered yet, into the chat. And oh, thanks, Zenobia. Zenobia just put in her contact information if you'd like to reach out to Zenobia and learn more about the great work being done at Good Health Wins. Also can join in on some of their webinars as well. Also, if you have not done a listening session, we will ask that you also just contribute to the listening sessions as well. We use that information to help guide our programming. So please look out for that link as well that Luis just put in the chat. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you again, Zenobia, for presenting and sharing all of your work.
All right.
Everyone have an awesome rest of your day.
Happy holidays.